she was embarrassed that he was my father. That's why she never came to me and said that. It was this other family member that told me that.
She's embarrassed. Her mom was the one that's known as the neighborhood girl. Everybody slept with her mom. All my friends did.
Mr. Adams might end up in jail today for failing to pay child support if the court rules that he is indeed the father of Ms. Williams's child. Due to legal restrictions, he's not allowed to leave his state, so he's joined this session via video conferencing. Ms. Williams argues that Mr. Adams's legal troubles are entirely his own doing. Adding more tension to the situation, Mr. Adams's mother, Mrs. Adams, is present in court as well. Let's hear what she has to say about all this. This is definitely a complicated and intense case.
Your Honor, my son is now facing jail because of this situation.
This very moment, you're concerned that he could be arrested for failure to pay child support for a child that both of you have doubts is even his child.
True, Your Honor.
Mr. Adams?
Yes, Your Honor, I can hear you.
All right, so...
All right, Mr. Judge of Character, Ms. Williams admits that her relationship with Mr. Adams was not committed. It was more of an on and off situation. But does that mean she can't be certain he's the father, given she has been with other men as well? Ms. Williams acknowledges that their doubt is understandable. Still, it's Mr. Adams who has ended up running from the law. That's a strange twist, isn't it? However, Ms. Williams claims she has a very good reason for this. Let's dive into her explanation. This is shaping up to be quite a perplexing case.
I asked him twice to get the DNA test. He said, I'm hungover. He was giving me excuses, basically. So I took it upon myself to get help with the DNA test. It wasn't for no money at all. I said, I pay for the DNA test myself. You ain't got to come out of pocket.
I need to understand these details. You tell him you're pregnant.
Yes.
What happened?
Me and my ex was still trying to make things.
Nobody ever wants to be blamed for situations like this, but Ms. Williams has a lot more to reveal, making this one of the messiest cases to ever appear in paternity court. With so many layers of drama and uncertainty, it's no wonder tensions are high. Let's brace ourselves for what she has to say next. This case is turning into a whirlwind.
Pregnant. I didn't mention him about found out it wasn't my ex.
So when you got pregnant, you didn't even include Ms. Thought it was your ex's. And your ex
I
said,
did.
well, it's mine too, and you all went through this whole process, but then you had a test. It was not your ex, it was Mr. Adams.
So it seems pretty straightforward then. If the baby isn't her ex's, it must be Mr. Adams's, right? Well, things aren't that simple in paternity court. Cases here tend to be much more complicated. So how did Mr. Adams end up in this legal mess? Ms. Williams explained that once she was certain Mr. Adams was the father, she went to the state for assistance. This revelation adds yet another layer of complexity to an already tangled situation. Let's see how this goes. This case is turning into a real wild one.
Who the potential father could be.
Yes, I did.
And you gave the state his name.
Yes, I did. Yes, he was.
Mr. Adams, did you go to court?
No, Your Honor, only due to the incarcerated.
So you didn't show up that day and you were deemed the father by default.
And that's how it all unfolded. Mrs. Adams claims she once overheard Ms. Williams telling her daughter that Mr. Adams wasn't the father of her child. However, Ms. Williams denies ever saying that. The tension is a lot as we go into Ms. Williams's side of the story. This case just keeps getting more and more intense, with each revelation adding to the drama. Let's hear exactly how Ms. Williams responds to this accusation.
She was in my very own living room.
Billy, I never said no, and I never said he was.
And I seen her. She was with a guy. She was around 9 months pregnant. And I asked her to sit down and talk to me for a minute. She said, I'm positive that.
Well, let's hope Ms. Williams isn't lying, because that would be incredibly embarrassing. Naturally, Mrs. Adams says this makes her very doubtful that the child is her son's, and honestly, it's making me a bit doubtful too. Now it's time to uncover the truth, as Mr. Adams is about to make some very troubling allegations. This case has taken so many twists and turns, and it's all building up to this moment. Let's see what shocking revelations come next. This is truly one of the cases with the dumbest moms we've seen in paternity court.
Well, actually, Your Honor, I do feel like it was...
What evidence you have to suggest that?
My mother told me that she talked to Miss Williams.
That was my ex I had tested. There were no other guys.
So, Mr. Adams, Ms. Williams is claiming that she asked you to take a DNA test.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor. She did.
Why didn't you take?
The excuse was he had a hangover. He couldn't get up. He was just...
No, my son was in jail. My son was in jail.
No, this was before he had got locked up. I asked him twice.
he was in jail.
Why didn't you take the test,
I
Mr.
had the
Adams?
paper sent to jail to have...
The one time that I couldn't go
Just the ex, right? Okay? Okay then. If you say so, Ms. Williams. If you say so. Up until now, Mrs. Adams and Ms. Williams have managed to stay cordial, but suddenly tensions flare and they start shouting at each other in court. The atmosphere is electric as emotions boil over. This confrontation adds even more drama to an already intense situation. Let's see how the court handles this outburst. This case just keeps escalating, making it one of the most explosive sessions we've seen in paternity court.
Father of her child was from jump is the child of my
Right.
I haven't
so don't come at
communicated
me
with
like
the
I
child.
don't know my mistake. I was
Miss
young
Adams,
then, but
I
I'm
was a
grown
single
now.
mother.
Okay, and I'm a single mother. My butt, yes, I did. And I took care of my son at the end of the day. That's
Okay,
all,
ladies.
and I'm worried about my kid.
Ladies,
I took care of my kid.
ladies,
And I take care of my, with or without your son.
I know this is emotional, but I think Ms. Williams has admitted that she knows she made some pretty huge mistakes. And Ms. Adams, I don't think you can make her feel any worse than she feels about herself.
There is surely no love lost between these two. Anyway, it is time to get this over with and see if Ms. Williams has been lying all this while. Is Mr. Adams the father, or is the father another man?
That Mr. Adams is not the father.
Take me off child support, baby.
Mr. Adams, you done come to the wrong courtroom clowning. This is not a joke.
Mr. Hunter caught Ms. Davies in the act of cheating on him and then called off his wedding to her. Really, Ms. Davies? He is also now disputing the paternity of Ms. Davies' son, Jaden, and believes he is not the father. Ms. Davies says all of this is a lie, and Mr. Hunter is basically seeing ghosts. Here is how Ms. Davies sees things.
And Devon, like you stated, have been together for 5 years, almost 6. And due to all the rumors, he no longer wants to get married. He has cut off our wedding plans. So I'm here today to prove that he is the father of Jaden.
You called off the wedding plans, Mr. Hunter?
Yes, Your Honor, because things I've seen, I don't really trust the things she do. I've seen too much to keep going on with this, so I have to make sure that.
Well, Your Honor, we met like 5.5 years ago through a mutual friend. I would say that we were happy we first got together.
This sounds like a really confident woman. Or could she just be really dumb? A woman as confident as Miss Davies can surely not be lying about the paternity of her child, right? Such weird things never happen on paternity court, right? Anyway, Ms. Davies says she is not the cheat in this relationship, and the cheat is actually Mr. Hunter.
But then I started finding text messages, phone calls from other females. So at that point of the relationship, Your Honor, I no longer trusted him at all.
Messages from whom?
Messages like, when you coming out, can I come get you? When we gonna hang out?
From men?
Yes, from men.
Miss Davies, were you entertaining other men?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
You were?
Yes, because Devon was out with other females.
That's not true. I caught her first, so that's when I started.
That is a
Caught
lie,
her
Your
doing
Honor.
what?
I caught her with her phone messages first, and then I started going out, stepping out.
That's a lie, Your Honor. After I seen.
Oh, so both of them just continued cheating on one another. That cannot be healthy. But Ms. Davies has a good reason for cheating on her husband. Yes, she actually does, if you can believe it. And she does us the favor of sharing that reason with us.
Who can play that game, and I decided to go out and talk to someone else.
Now, once you did that, what happened?
Well, once I did, I briefly had a relationship with the guy. We were sexually.
Well, she did not sleep with the man. She was just sexually in contact with him. Okay, Ms. Davies. Anyway, Ms. Davies soon got pregnant off that one sexual contact. And now we have got to ask the million-dollar question. How does she know that the baby belongs to Mr. Hunter instead of some other man? Let us hear from her.
I was 100% sure at the time, but I wanted Devon to be the father.
All right, so now we're getting honest now. And
Right.
that's what we're here to do.
Right.
The truth is when you told him you wanted him to be,
Yes.
but you didn't know for certain.
Yes, Your Honor.
When she told you she was pregnant, Mr. Hunter, how about you? What did you feel in that moment?
Immediately I said I have doubt, because it was just.
At least we are now getting some sorely needed truths in this building. Mr. Hunter says he immediately had paternity doubt when she told him she was pregnant. He based this doubt off rumors and things he had heard and seen himself. So what things did this man hear and see that made him doubt that his partner was carrying his baby?
People tell me that she been hanging out, hopping in and out of cars, you know what I mean? I had a friend that told me they went to a party one time and she hooked up with some guy at the party. That was around the time when the baby was going to be conceived.
You're not denying it. You're just smirking, Miss Davis.
Well, maybe that is false, Ms. Davies, but you literally just told us now that you had sexual contact several times with another man. So Mr. Hunter is right to have a lot of paternity doubts. And then Mr. Hunter has another interesting story for us.
I'm at her house, right? She let me stay over her house. I had been drinking, so I went to go lay down, right? I accidentally fall asleep longer than I'm supposed to, so she's thinking I'm gone. She brings another guy and another girl upstairs into the room while I'm in there.
Wait, maybe I was wrong. Mr. Hunter should not have a lot of paternity doubts. He should have a gazillion, but Ms. Davies kind of explains it away. Though her explanation is not quite helpful, let's just listen to her.
Because he was drinking. He said he needs to sleep it off for a while. So I'm thinking he's gone.
What were you bringing the guy and the girl in your room to do?
Your Honor,
We all know what that's finna do.
we did plan.
So there are now at least two different guys in the equation, and somehow Ms. Davies insists that her son belongs to Mr. Hunter. She gets so upset about everything that she starts to cry, and that just makes Mr. Hunter tell the court even more embarrassing stories. Just listen to him go.
And then she gets up and walks to the kitchen, and she's in the kitchen for like maybe 10, 15 minutes. She's supposed to came back already. I walk around to the kitchen, and she's down there standing in between this guy's legs. Like, you know what I mean? What is that about?
What is this about? Because you say it hurts to hear you.
You know what? We have heard enough. It is time to check out the DNA test results and see what is actually going on here. Is Ms. Davies just a dumb mom, or is Mr. Hunter just trying to run from his responsibilities?
Mr. Hunter, you are not the father.
I told you.
I'm very sorry.
Mrs. Cleveland cheated on her husband with his friend, but claims that her husband is the father of her 17-month-old child, Hunter. Despite cheating, she has absolutely no doubt that he is the father of her child, and she thinks a positive DNA test today will save her marriage. Here is how she says the marriage looks like today.
I see him treating our son differently than he does his daughter, and it bothers me inside.
I try not to treat him any differently. I try to treat him like he's mine.
You said you tried to.
That I'm holding him and I look at him and, you know, I don't see me in him and I have to set him down and walk away because it's just...
Mrs. Cleveland says that she fights all the time with her husband because of this, and her marriage has basically been going downhill. But there must be a reason why her husband is having all these fights with her, right? Well, Mr. Cleveland tries to get into it, but Ms. Cleveland has a different perspective on how things went down.
Been lied to and cheated on, you know.
Your Honor, I've never cheated on him.
Oh.
I left him before I ever did anything with any other.
Text behind your back.
Like sexy messages, like I miss you.
Who are you sending those texts to? Your husband, I hope.
But that kind of means you were certainly cheating on your husband, right? And remember that just before admitting to cheating, Mrs. Cleveland said that she had never cheated. So this woman is certainly not above lying in court. Here is Mrs. Cleveland's perspective on things.
It quits. I was ready to wash my hands. Finds out that I kissed this guy and he wants to be.
When did you find out you were pregnant with Hunter?
I found out 2 weeks before we got back together.
And one found out pregnant, you all
Wow, Mr. Cleveland clearly loves this baby so much. It will be such a shame if it turns out he is not the father. 1 month after the child was born, Mrs. Cleveland drops the bombshell and tells Mr. Cleveland the truth that he might not be the father. And that was not the only bombshell she dropped.
Now,
Wait, what? Hold on, don't just gloss over that. You told him a month. What did you say?
I was a month pregnant and me and his friend had a sexual relationship.
no, she didn't, Your Honor. Otherwise, I would not have stuck around through that.
This is just so all over the place. Mr. Cleveland says if he knew that the child could belong to his friend, he would have never stuck around for the birth. He says she only told him she even slept with any of his friends after the birth of Hunter, and that nothing like that happened before the birth. So why did Mrs. Cleveland even sleep with her husband's friend? Well, the reason might shock you.
His friend was giving me a different lifestyle. He was cleaning my lifestyle up. I was involved in church every Sunday, was doing something with myself, and it made me.
You were going to church every Sunday and you end up sleeping with your husband's friend?
No.
Okay, what is worse? Your wife sleeping with your friend because he has more money than you, or your wife sleeping with your friend despite him not having more money than you? From where I am sitting, both things are equally painful. hurtful, but Mrs. Cleveland at least says she regrets it. That must count for something, right? What a woman.
No, it was just once. It was just a one-time thing. I felt horrible about it. My heart was with my husband. I love him with all my heart when I didn't even care for him.
So if you didn't care for him like that to begin with, why would you go to him?
What a really chatty couple. But even after she got back with her husband, Mrs. Cleveland did not stop cheating. In fact, she sort of continued from where she left off by kissing another man, even while they were married. Here is how she explains it.
When you're married, what happened?
Adam and I continuously fight every day, and he was at work talking about how beautiful I was, just saying all the right things to me, just made me feel wonderful about myself.
Wow, really? Mrs. Cleveland says she confessed to her husband a week later, but he insists that never happened. Instead, he says he got a gut feeling that she had cheated and then went through her phone and found evidence. That is one of the reasons he has now made this decision.
If he's not mine and if the lie detector test proves that she is lying, I'm afraid this marriage is going to be over. I can't continue to do this. I really can't.
Miss Cleveland, the stakes are high here today.
It hurts. It hurts a lot.
You came into...
The stakes have never been higher, but despite that, Mrs. Cleveland is 100% certain that her husband is the father of her child Hunter. Let us put that assurance to test by checking out the results of the DNA test.
Mr. Cleveland,
yes,
you are not the father.
I thought so. I really thought so. I mean, I see it.
Mr. Burnett insists that he cannot be the father of Ms. Fuel because her mother was a neighborhood girl. He says Ms. Fuel is now badgering him because her mother told her crazy lies about him being her father. For some strange reason, Ms. Fuel's mother has decided not to come to paternity court, so we only have Ms. Fuel and Mr. Burnett to contend with. Now, let us hear from Mr. Burnett.
Through marriage?
Yes.
So when were you told that she believed you potentially could be...
I've never heard of it until like about 2 years ago.
Really?
Really?
You didn't talk to my mom when I was a kid?
Never talked to your mom about nothing until about 2 years ago. I was told by a family member. And
what were you told by this family member?
That she looks like my family.
Oh, that is a lot. Mr. Burnett says that is a complete lie. But Miss Fuel insists that her mother cannot be lying, which is sort of weird because let me tell you, Mrs. Fuel, if there is one thing that always happens in paternity court, it is lying. But Ms. Fuel has some more things to say.
Walter was my father. She told me as an adult, came to me and said that. It was this other family member that told me that.
She's embarrassed. Her mom was the one is known as the neighborhood girl. Everybody slept with her mom. All my friends did.
That's a lie.
Did you? That's what we're trying to get down to the bottom.
Wow, that must be such a tough thing to hear about your mother. But we are getting somewhere. So Mr. Burnett slept with Ms. Fuel's mother. So there is at least a tiny chance that he could be her father, right? At least that was what Ms. Fuel heard from her mother. That's right. Everything she's saying here, she heard from her mother.
Who's giving you information?
As an adult, I asked my mom. She told me that it was another possibility.
Miss Fuel, have you attempted to have...
my daughter's page or something, and...
He hasn't been in none of his 3 kids' life either.
Okay, that may be true, but isn't it even worse that you're trying to get a deadbeat dad to acknowledge you? This is really so messy, and it is so bad that Ms. Fuel's mother is not here to shed light on the entire situation. Through all of this, Mr. Burnett insists that though he has nothing, he cannot be her father.
Oh, that's just like me saying that he's my uncle.
Well, I mean, but no one in your family, no one close to you, no one you love, trust.
Okay.
I mean, really. I know this may be difficult for you to accept and difficult for you to take in, especially since you regard her as, but if you put yourself...
This has gone on long enough. It is time to say the truth and shame the devil. Who is really Miss Fuel's father? Mr. Burnett? Or was her mother just lying to her all this while? Let us listen to Judge Lauren read out the results.
Mr. Burnett, you are not her father.
Apologize. I'm sorry.
Sorry.